Hello YouTube and Happy New Year! In this video we're going to go over what in my opinion is the best starter build for UO Outlands. And it is the Dexter tank. Now I know what you're thinking, a tank? But tanks aren't any fun. However, Outlands has done a nice job of balancing tanks where they can do high damage while staying healthy. Plus, with this build, you will stay alive a lot longer in boss fights, so you can learn the mechanics, and you also get comfortable being low on health but still doing damage as opposed to just running away. Now, getting into the actual build, you have 80 parry, 80 MR resisting spells, and that's for the survivability because parry gives you more tankiness, as well as resist spells, more tankiness, you can get hit more times. And then we have 100 healing, 80 anatomy, that's for big bandages, and the ability to res, which can be crucial, especially when you're lower level aspect. Resing during boss fights can be a big help. And then you have 100 in tactics and 100 in a weapon skill of your choice, and then 80 in the arms lore. Now, arms lore can be subbed out, and here's a chart to show you all the cohesion that works together. You can choose fencing, all sorts of different weapons abilities, as well as instead of arms lore, a different skill, such as camping, so you can carry more. But this is personally what I run on Sunshine. Now for a tank, I personally recommend going swordsmanship with this, and it's just because in the thick of things, swordsmanship, the bleeds will do a lot more damage progressively than other weapon skills you choose. Now, mace fighting is a great weapon skill for high damage, but I believe that the bleeds override the actual increased damage from mace fighting. But that's just what I believe. I haven't personally run a test on it. I do know that of all the weapon skills, swordsmanship is my favorite, wrestling's the second, and then my least favorite is fencing, because with fencing I feel like I never do high damage, but I do a lot more weapon swings. And I'll get into the weapon swings with the aspects. Now let's talk aspects. There's a lot to choose from. Some are better than others, and some I recommend more than others. The one I recommend most is Earth, because it's very low cost, and if you stand still, like with bulwark, parry stance, then you're just so unkillable to so many mobs. You also get the damage increase from the earth armor, as well as the hands coming out do cause a 1 second hinder to the mobs. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more tank related while still being able to move, because Earth you have to stand still, you have Void. And with Void, you get extra resist spells, extra parry, as well as you're just farming, you get these procs for health, stamina, and mana. Health, stamina, and mana. And those allow you to just continue farming without having to worry as much, because you know you're getting that 25 health here in 2 seconds. Now, that one has better cohesion with wrestling than Earth does, because you'll be changing stances a lot using more mana. The mana Void is better for wrestling. Earth better for like swordsmanship, mace fighting. And then after that you have Holy Aspect, which when you spend holy points, you become tankier for 10 seconds, and it stacks per holy point spent. So you get tankier with the increased damage of a consecrate weapon or doing a noble sacrifice or holy light, as well as with holy armor you also get a bonus chance to get another holy symbol, and your shiv skill is increased with holy. So all around you get more survivability as well as tankiness with holy. However, you don't get as much damage as if you were to choose like Earth. Now, I haven't personally tested that out, but it's just what I've noticed when farming. Now, we'll talk about Discipline aspect. Discipline is more wrestling dependent because you use mana in order to change wrestling stances or refresh your wrestling stance. And that mana spent makes you tankier. So you need a little bit of a mana pool with this build. However, if you use like Zen Strike, you get that mana back on the weapon finisher. But also, you get what's called the Iron Will weapon proc. And with that proc, it increases your damage and your resist, and it stacks up to twice. So it can make you tankier than any of the other ones, but because it's wrestling dependent, you'll never be able to carry a shield also. Now, there's also one that I put on the major list. It's air. With air, it is dependent upon your weapon swing. So the more swings, the higher your resist. So this is why I said fencing does play a part in it, because if you go air with fencing, you get a lot more weapon swings because fencing's the fastest weapon and it makes you tankier. However, you also get no resist if you're not able to swing on them. So it's not my favorite, but it does make you very tanky with fencing. Now, the less tankier builds, the less likely ones to be chosen, are War Aspect. Even though it's great because you get the chance for stats just like Void, however, you can only get experience from PvP events. You can only get cores from PvP events. So if you're not into PvP, War is an aspect that you're generally not going to go with, but it is a tanky aspect, so it deserved to be in here. The next one is Blood. Now with Blood, you get extra stats and everything. Extra mana, extra stamina, extra strength. Well, hit points. However, it doesn't have that additional durability built in. That's why it's on the less tanky side. But having 130 hit points does make you tankier than a person with 100. So that's why it's in here, but as a less tanky option. And as last less tanky option, we have Water. Now, Water, again, doesn't give you any damage in the damage resist in the armor, in addition to the normal aspect armor increase like Holy or Earth, but it does increase your healing, and it gives you some alchemy, so your heal potions heal you for more, as well as the proc decreases the damage incoming, and it stacks, so they can not be able to hit you because you double procced, and that in essence makes you tankier. That's why I've included it. I've run water on my Dexter tank. It is fun, but again, you're not as much of a tank as you are having fun being able to out-heal the damage. Here are some of the main Shiv abilities you'll use as a tank. Now, with these abilities, you're going to use all your abilities at one point or another. These are just the ones that I use the most and have set up macros for. And on that note, here are some macros I think you need going forward as a tank, especially if you choose Chivalry. I definitely choose to have these macros. The first one being heal self, pretty self-explanatory. It's just bandage self. And then an arm disarm for your shield, that way you can drink your heal pot, which is the next one, your cure pot, which is this one, and then your strength pot, which is this one. Now, also another one that's good to have is taunt. And it's because if you read this taunt, it increases your armor rating of your shield while that mob is aggroed onto you. So you become tankier by taunting. So that's why you'll just see randomly tanks taunting even when nobody's going after their mobs. It's because it makes them tankier. Another good one to have toggleable is disarm and hamstring here and here, and that is just to make it so if a PK comes, if they're a Dexter, you can disarm them so you're not as worried about their damage, or if they are a mage and you're trying to kill them, you can hamstring them so they can't run away from you. Good ones to have. I also use hamstring on mobs. That just makes them easier to hit. A lot of people don't use hamstring on mobs. They just save it for if a PK comes so they can whack them and run. But it's however you want to use it. I'm just giving you the options. And then if you have Chivalry, these are definitely some macros you should have set up. The first one being Holy Light. Heal yourself, damage enemies. It's just easier to have on a hotkey so you're not trying to find it in the Shiv bar. Another one, Noble Sacrifice. A great self-heal if you're in an emergency situation, or if your ally needs a heal, this is how you'll probably be healing them. The next one, Cleanse by Fire. Great one if you're poisoned. Great anti-poison mechanic. I don't even use cure pots because Cleanse by Fire works so well, and it increases your damage because the curing of the poison causes 100 damage. Nice little benefit. Next one being Close Wounds. Definitely have a macro for this. It helps your bleeds, it helps your diseases. And then the last one isn't really a macro, it's a recommendation. Keep Dispel Evil checked at all times. It helps with magic resist, it helps with parry, it just helps you be tankier, and it costs you 1 Shiv point. It's worth it, just always keep Dispel Evil checked. Anyways, if you like this content, please like, sub below if you want to see more, and comment. Just let me know how I did. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.